Here now, a few seconds before we start. There we go. There we have it. Now my little screen has disappeared. No, we need to go there. There we go. We have our screen up. How is everybody tonight? We have a bit of information for you tonight, and some information that I thought I was going to talk about tonight, I've decided to leave till next week because we haven't got it all completely finished yet. But I will show you some of what we're planning, what we're doing, where we're going with the website. It's an exciting period, I can tell you. We have an amazing opportunity to deliver something for the members because we set out down this road in the first instance. So we'll have arbitrage revenue in your wallets from 3 or 4 different arbitrage programs. So who knows what the outcome will be, as in the monetary outcome. But once we get an idea of where we're going, you'll be able to see it in your website. And we will show everybody how it's coming together. So let's get amongst this. Everyone goes forward together. It's our tagline. We believe it. We have done a lot of work in the last few weeks to make this come together. I know we set out 6 weeks ago on a project to update a part of the website that should have taken about a day, and it took 6 weeks. You can understand and probably get an idea of my level of frustration. It was very difficult to keep my cool when I was talking to programmers that seemed to be struggling to read English. And so it's gone on from there. But we're getting there. We have a lot of, we have a whole lot of new programs that will link into the website in the coming months. And we will go from there, and hopefully we'll all make some money together, because it's been a difficult period. But when we look back at what we have actually achieved so far, I would have liked to have done it in 3 or 4 weeks, but it's taken us 6 months. Okay, that can be viewed as somewhat of a failure, but nobody else in the world has done this. So we're still out in front of everybody else. There's a number of bullion dealers around the world now attempting to copy parts of what we're doing. Good luck with that. I will take that as a compliment. And we have made some sizable steps forward with our blockchain and our own cryptocurrency for delivering gold. So, yep, it's been an amazing ride. And yes, Dan, nobody's done this before. So, yep, we bit off a big mouthful. We've been chewing really hard. And I can tell you it's going to be great when all of the bells and whistles come together. So welcome, everybody. Let's get into this and have a look at our intro video. there we go. There is a follow-up video to that, which is about half done. And I would love to tell you that I'll have it done tomorrow, but I won't. The last few weeks has been really tough because I keep thinking that I'm finishing what we're doing in the website and I'll have the time to focus on this, but that has just gone on to be a ridiculous amount of work that we've put into the website in the last month and a half. So we will get to it. We will have version, or well, we won't call it version 2. It'll be follow-up video 2, so that you can use more and more of them just as an understanding of what we're doing. So once this starts to happen and come together, it's going to be really something. I look forward to it. So remember, we are expressing our view as affiliates only. We don't represent those companies and we're not giving financial advice. What we're doing is we're showing you what we've discovered, how we've discovered to move ourselves forward with a wallet system that makes sense. Tonight, I'm going to just touch on some of the podcasts that are around and how bad they're being, how ugly they think the future's going to be. But we're in the right place because we're already going down the road of insulating ourselves from that. I suppose you'd call it a disaster or whatever it is that you want to call it. Okay, so today we're talking about a merchant, and today's sponsor merchant is Skippy Pest Control. And you know that Dan's so good with white ants because that was his backyard when he was growing up. And he learnt very early on that if he got a little pink hammer, he could wander around and squash all the termites in those mounds. And thus, Jan and Dan became Skippy Pest Control. And now that backyard looks like that. Ant bed tennis courts. Isn't that amazing? Amazing what you can do with a little pink hammer. But remember, if you need a pest control issue sorted out, call Skippy Pest Control. They've been with us for a long time. I've observed them doing lots of termite work, and that is Dan's specialty. He knows where they like to chew on houses. Okay, now, another reason that Dan is so successful is he has a number of offsiders that go around with him and show him where to look. And this is the crew that he has that goes around with him. He pulls them out of a little matchbox and turns them loose, and they come back and give him reports. That's why he's so good at chasing termites. Why are we here? Well, it's because we're a group of like-minded people that are focused on ensuring we survive the economic turmoil that's around us right now. And I have to tell you, if you don't think there's economic turmoil going on around us today, pay attention. Do some research. As they say, find out what's going on. The world is changing and we need to pay attention. Okay, today we're going to have a little look at the silver market. Now, last week I played a little video of refining gold, and the same company has put out a little video about silver and what it's used for, etc. So let's have a bit of a run through on that for a few minutes. So about the only thing I wasn't really aware of in that was the ball bearings in jet engines. I had no idea that they were silver-plated bearings and it was to provide less friction. I was aware of the silver in antibiotic and disease situations. We were part of a company a bunch of years ago now We actually filed a patent on that. And it was to do with how you would treat disease and bacteria in water. And the idea came from back in the early stages of the American Wild West, when they were taking wagon trains across country and the water was on the side of the wagons. They used to put a silver dollar in the bottom of the barrel to keep the water sweet. It didn't go off and didn't grow algae and it didn't get bacteria. Simple solution. The amount of silver that was coming off the coin into the water was minuscule, but it was enough to do the job. Now, I don't know who thought it was a good idea to give it a try, but it certainly worked. So let's have a look at how our world is going and what we should be paying attention to. Now, this is Heiser Says, and again, all the links to these podcasts will be in the description on YouTube. He's talking about the price of beef being what's a very large part of inflation because it's food. And yes, you can very clearly see that the price of beef is going up substantially. I called a friend of mine who lives out of Tambo. He's got quite a big place out there, and asked him about buying and selling cattle just recently. And he was telling me that they are getting anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a head for their weaner calves. Now, that's a lot of money. So price of beef is going up substantially, and that will impact inflation. And we already know that inflation's going up at a stupid rate. Here's another one that really is quite scary. Using our military forces to enforce lockdown rules. Now, you can be on any one of the sides of this argument about whether we need a lockdown, about whether the masks work, all of that. Doesn't matter which side of that fence you're on. If they start to bring in the military to enforce lockdowns, we are in a world of hurt, because that's part of our constitution that will be trampled all over. The fact that we are not allowed to move freely inside our own country. Anyway, that's another debate for a whole nother podcast. So here we are. Why banks are a danger zone for your money. We've hit a scary level of systemic risk. Now, this ties into what we talked about last week with the banks in New Zealand, talking about sweeping accounts. And the New Zealand regulations are taking into account that most of their banks are owned by Australia's banks. So they've broadened their sweep systems to include Australian accounts. So if their banks need to sweep accounts to stay afloat, they're going to take the money out of Australian accounts as well. And they're the New Zealand government, so they can make up the rules to suit themselves for New Zealand. Is it going to stay that way? Who knows? I'm very worried about what our banks are doing and how they operate, have been for a long time, but they seem to be just getting further and further out of hand. And it would be really very good to see some sort of control to make them be real banks again. And we're going to talk a little bit about Basel III tonight. And when you see how much cash and assets the bank needs to hold to operate, it is monumentally stupid to think that Westpac, one of our big four, has been allowed to operate for a long time, holding 2% as security. 2%. They are ridiculous numbers, and they're not getting any better. We hope Basel III will change it, but it's not going to change it much. This guy talked about the silver price, and it will continue to rise. We know it's got a long way to go to catch up with gold, but silver is silver. And as you saw in that video, silver is not only a precious metal that people collect and keep, it's an industrial metal, as is gold, but it's used more in industry than gold is. So you can look at what's going on in the world and make your own assumptions. I think precious metal is headed for some very serious price increases. That's just my opinion. I can only educate myself as everybody else does. So let's move along and keep an eye out. Here we are, the Money GPS. The dominoes will fall. He has just put out this 17-minute podcast where he talks about what's happening in the stock markets around the world and how he predicts that eventually, in the not too distant future, one stock will collapse and that will tip everybody over. And if you're wondering what that one stock will be, nobody knows. There's a number of podcasts. I haven't used a snip tonight, but there's a number of them talking about the collapse that will definitely happen in 2022. Now, they said that in 2020 about 2021. Nobody predicted the global pandemic or whatever you want to call it, the Heineken flu. Nobody predicted what that was going to impact. Who knows? But there has to be a reset. The price-earning ratio of shares today is stupidly out of control. The amount of money that you pay for shares based on the earnings of the companies are ridiculous. It just is not sustainable. And if you can find someone that wants to come on and tell me why it is sustainable, I'd be happy to listen. But there's nobody in the world that I can find that's talking about it being sustainable. Now, here's Lynette Zhang, ITM Trading. ITM Trading is a physical gold and silver company, as we are. And I like Lynette because she doesn't pull any punches. She talks about all the information that we know is happening in the world and gives her opinion. This particular podcast is all about your personal privacy and security. Because in 2008, a company released a piece of software that can be embedded in your phone without you taking any steps. So they call it zero click. So somebody could send that software to your phone. It automatically installs. They can then turn on the microphone whenever they like. They can record conversations. They can copy photographs. They can literally harvest any data off that phone that they want. Now, of course, there's a few little legal issues around that. But this company is selling software supposedly to only governments to chase terrorists. Now, that's okay, but we all know that that's not going to happen. That's not going to stay like that. As is now, we have Woolworths cooperating with the government, sharing information between their loyalty program and the app and the police. Did you know if you use your loyalty card in Woolworths today, you are cooperating with the company that is sharing all that data, at the moment only in trial sites, none of which are in Brisbane or Queensland that I know of. But you can see the writing on the wall. They're going to track or attempt to track everything that we buy, where we buy it, how we buy it, who we buy it with, who is around us, where we've been. Hence, I can't wait to move out into the bush. I'm very, very against that sort of tracking. And I know I've had some people say, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, what's the problem? The problem is you don't have to do anything wrong. If they decide to not like something that you've done, they can shut you down. We have people that are on the call tonight who had their bank accounts closed back just a few months ago for trying to buy gold and silver from an overseas company. Close their account. That's not illegal to do it, not against the law, no moral issues. Close their bank accounts. Only because they had enough information to think, we're not in control here, so we'll stop it. That's the issue. Once you give them all of this power, information is power. You are at their mercy. Anyway, let me not get on my soapbox about that. What do you think is going on? If you think anything that I have talked about here tonight is out of order, please let me know. Leave a comment on the video. Send me an email. I haven't found anybody that can tell me that what I've just talked about is not going to happen. It's already happening as we speak. People are being tracked. People are being blindsided by information sharing they didn't know anything about. And it's awful. It should not be happening like that, but it is. So let's have a look at some economies. So here's a list of 10 currencies: euro, pound, dollars, Australian dollars, yen, Swiss francs, New Zealand dollars,
Hello.
Canadian dollars, North Korea.
Okay.
Louise, did you mean to be talking?
Yeah. Gone.
Okay, for some reason I can't mute it at this end. Dan, you might be able to do that. So let's go back to these currencies. Here is a list of 10 currencies. Now, according to this graph, the more bars you've got there, the stronger the currency is. But let's look just a little bit further into what's happening with those currencies. The US economy, their debt is 107.6% of GDP. There is no physical way they can repay that debt. So their options are very limited. They can default on the debt, which would crash the currency completely. They can reissue new debt, which is what they're currently doing. Or they can change the currency. Maybe they can put the dollar back on the gold standard or a silver standard. That's another option, but there's not many options. Now, let's have a look at the one beside it, Australia. 32.1% of GDP, that's our number. Now, if anyone can explain to me how the US dollar is that strong when it's in a debt hole that is inescapable, I don't understand. I don't understand how they come up with the strength of these currencies. I don't understand, and this has come from a government-backed system where they've checked all these currencies out. And look at the Japanese yen. The Japanese have been in a world of financial hurt for many years. Many years. And look at the Swiss franc, 39.76% of GDP. Nearly 40%. How is it possible that those currencies are that strong when we're in 32.1%? And we've got one bar and the others, look at the US dollar. I mean, they're stupid, the numbers that they're coming out with. But what they're doing is selling us on what they want us to understand. They want us to believe that the US dollar is strong. Why? It's the reserve currency of the world. If the US dollar goes down the toilet, every currency in the world will have the same thing happen. It is impossible to avoid it. What's the outcome that they're going to move towards? I really do think we're likely to have some sort of a precious metal backed currency system. That might not be one-to-one like we had in the past. It might be 10% of the currency is exchangeable for precious metal or something. There's a number of commentators out there that have proposed this method or that method and how they would do it. But those numbers are quite scary when 107.6% of GDP. It is impossible for them to repay that debt. Just unbelievable. Yes, Martin, there'll be digital forms of everything coming, and I'm absolutely certain that most of the Western world will have its own digital currency at some point in the reasonably near future. The problem with that is that the governments will control it. So if they don't like what you're doing today, they just turn you off. Can't buy fuel, can't buy food, can't buy a car, can't buy an airline ticket, can't buy a train ticket. You might be able to go to a servo and pump up the tyres on your bike. That'll be about it. It's bizarre, but that's what we're dealing with today. Okay, let's have a talk about Basel III. It is a necessary change, but lots of people, including myself, think it's not actually going to be enough because we're trying to regulate banks that currently hold the monetary system by the throat. And the only way you're going to regulate those banks is with something that has more power. Well, the organisation that's trying to implement Basel III is the Bank of International Settlements. There's a clue in the title. It's a bank. And yes, they do control the settlements internationally between banks, but they don't actually have the regulatory authority to force change on the monetary system, although they're doing a really good job of trying to make this happen. Now, here's the problem. Basel III requires banks to maintain higher levels of capital with minimum common equity holdings at banks increasing from 2%, which is what it was last month, all the way up to an outrageous 7%. 7%. And every bank in the world is fighting against this because they don't have 7%. If they want to stack their asset sheet, they create an ETF, put gold on it, and it becomes part of their asset, and then they go and sell it. So they've just added whatever amount of money they want to their balance sheet. So their balance sheet looks okay until you realize that all of those assets are ETFs and there is no gold, there is no silver. It is a ridiculous situation that we're in, that the banks are fighting back because they're attempting to force them to go to 7% equity. They don't have 2%. You're right, Dan. Electronically traded funds are just a curse on the banking system. How they ever came into being and somebody thought it was okay to have them is beyond me. So Basel III began implementation this month, July, but it's supposed to take full effect from January 23. So it's a few months ago. It has been implemented, but it's very, very early stages. We'll observe with interest what's happening in the coming months because that's going to impact everything we do with the metal. And our members will be impacted by that. What we've got to do is stay ahead of the curve enough to stay in front. So let's have a quick look through. It's a website update, some of the things we've done, some of the things that are in place right now. Now, if you have been on the calls for the last few weeks, we've been talking about the member benefits voucher, which is now officially in the website and working. So that's how we will put arbitrage profits in your wallet. They will be slid into your wallet as a member benefit voucher. And that's a very cool thing because it gives us control to split up the proceeds that the arbitrage will do, and we'll be able to put it directly into your wallet with that voucher. Now, bear in mind, there is no commission on a benefit voucher. So if you've recommended 50 people and they all get 2 kilos of silver next month as a benefit voucher, there's no commission on that because it's a member benefit. It's not income from activities, it's a member benefit. So it's another reason why this business is not an MLM. There are a couple of income streams that are tied to the team and the network. Most of them are not. They are built around the individual members. So please make sure that you understand, you get a grip of that. So here's what it will look like. This is actually a screenshot from my wallet. I get to be the crash test dummy. There you can see it's listed as a member benefit. It tells me the amount of gold, and it shows me that 0 is the amount of money that that voucher cost. Turn on laser pointer. There we go. 0. So that 0.52 of a gram of gold cost me nothing. That's a member benefit. That's how it will show up in your wallet. Now, if you get income from a merchant, it actually has a field that says this is commission from Skippy Pest Control or one of those merchants. Okay. This is a big one. Automatic orders have been installed in our test server and been tested for the last couple of weeks. They appear to be working correctly. I don't know if we'll get them in this week, although it's possible. We're waiting for our first programmers to finish what we've paid for at the website, and then we can hand it over to our usual crew who have developed this and will implement it. Now, what that will do for us as members, all you'll need to do is do a bank transfer, and the website will pick up that line item in the bank account and do the transaction for you. You have to go into the website. There will be a new tab in there that says automatic orders. So you will go into your website, set up the order. You can have 1, 2, 5, 10, doesn't matter how many different orders you set up. But once you've set that up, if this week you want $100 worth of gold, you send the bank transfer with the automatic order number as the reference. And the website will tie that together and do the transaction for you. It will be lodged in your wallet. All the records will be there so you can see it. It just saves you having to go and log in and doing the transaction. Now, the beauty of it being an automatic order is there's no requirement for you to do it once a week, once a month, once every 6 days. It will work every single time you do it. So you could do it once a day, once a week, once a month, doesn't matter. You can do $100 worth of silver on an automatic order today and tomorrow do $100 worth of gold on a different order. It's entirely up to you. You have total control of how that works. And it will issue an order and the gold into your wallet, just as if you sat there and went through the website and did it. It's just a whole lot easier for us to do that. There's no connection to your bank account. So the website, the AU4U website, will not reach into your website and get the money. It will not go into your bank account. There's no direct debit. There's no credit cards. You send the money. So you can set up in your website, in your bank website, to send the money once a week, once a month, whenever you want to send it, and it will process that order. But you can also send it randomly. If you've had a good month and you want to order $300 worth instead of $100 worth, you can do that. It's not a limiting factor. So that's really something to look forward to. It's going to change our direction. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the links, the referral links. Now, we currently have in Gold Rocks referral links that we were using before to connect to carrot bars. We're changing that system now so that it will connect directly to your AU4U website. So here's the process that Brad has put together for us to make it work. So you need to log into your AU4U account and get your affiliate link. And you can copy and paste it onto a Word page or something if you want to. Select either the left or the right. You will need to change this link in the Gold Rocks website if you use that, whenever you want to change the side that people are registered on. So once you've copied your replica link, so click on these two pages here and it will copy that link. Click on these little pages here, it copies this one. L is left, R is right. Pretty self-explanatory. So once you've got a copy of the one you want, go to your Gold Rocks members area, log in. Once you've done that, this is what you will see. Now, there's two menus on this page. This is the main menu, but right up above it is another menu, and there's member settings. That's where you need to go to put your link in so it will work automatically. And it will go in here. You'll be on edit profile. Once you click member settings, you'll be in edit profile. And then go down here to your K merchant URL. Now that will be renamed in a few weeks. We're just trying to get this all working so we do one lot of changes instead of 7 or 8. So that's where you paste your AU4U link in there, and then click Save Changes down the bottom. And then go over here to Referrals and paste it in that one, number 6, the one at the bottom, AU4U referral link. Put it in there. Now, once you've done that, if you send your Gold Rocks link to somebody and they go, yep, I want to join this, this is where it takes them to the AU4U register page. And you'll see at the top of the page, there is the AU4U link. So when they click join us, it will go through and join them to your AU4U account. It's really, really simple process. If you have any difficulty with that, we'll get a little video made up so that you can follow up with it and make sure that we can make it easy for you. Okay, you don't need to be a salesperson. We keep talking about that. When you see what's happening with the arbitrage in the background, it will be bringing money into your wallet from 3 or 4 different sources. And all of those sources will put metal in your wallet. You're going to be your own bank because you'll have your own wallet. And as we get the blockchain system integrated, it will allow you to do many more things straight off the blockchain. So we'll be holding money on our blockchain in spendable assets. Be your own bank. Make sure you protect yourself. Now remember, we're at the 26th of the month. There is a cutoff for your $100 transactions or whatever the transaction is. Please don't leave it until the last day. Midday on the last weekday of the month is the cutoff. Now, I'm saying it's the cutoff. That means you have to have placed the order, transferred the money has to have shown up, money has to have been allocated to your account. Then the order's got to be sent to the vault. They have to acknowledge it. They then check their gold reserves, make sure that that gold is put in the pile. They then come back and confirm that that's happened. All of that has to occur before midday on the last weekday of the month. Please do not leave it to the last day. Make sure that you give yourself some breathing room. All of that I just talked about is on this slide. The order has to be complete by noon on the last weekday of the month. If it's not, it will show up in the month after. Do not leave it to the last day. Now, every week, every single week, our economic news gets worse and it just continues to do so. Isn't it fantastic? But don't panic, Jonesy. We have got gold and silver, baby. And we are going to go from strength to strength. We have lots of new information coming. Lots of new programs coming into the website over the coming months. I look around every day and think, wow, I didn't ever think we'd do that. But it's coming together. We have lots of programmers working on it. We are moving into all sorts of new and interesting areas, but all around real physical gold and silver. That's what our focus is. We are trying to do as much as we can of it here in Australia. Where we have to do arbitrage programs and deals, we're taking it offshore. The digital cryptocurrency arbitrage will be run out of New York. The physical metal arbitrage will be run out of whatever country that particular package happens to be required for it to be in. So that's it for tonight. Has anyone got any questions about what we've talked about tonight? Remembering, everybody goes forward together. Can't wait to tell you how excited I'll be when I see that first arbitrage outcome in everyone's wallet. That will be very cool. And the coolest part of it is you, the member, don't have to fund it. It's funded by what's already in the website. So that's what's going to be a life changer. It will really, really change your outlook on life. So thanks, Martin. Thanks, Maxine, Jenny and Doug. Thank you so much. Great to have everyone here. Stay safe till we meet again, and we look forward to seeing you on the golden beaches of the world. Have a great night.